1 John 3, verses 7 and 8 say, "Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil." Welcome back to another episode of Walk Talks. As we continue our series through the book of 1 John, we've come to a portion of the letter that John writes where he emphasizes to us what it means to be a child of God. We noted on Monday that not everybody who calls himself a child or a son or a daughter of God is truly that. And he goes on to prescribe to us some tests that we can give to the person professing to be a child of God to see if they really are who they say that they are. And we noted yesterday in verses 4 through 6, the practice of sin and how that you can't continue to transgress the law in a habitual way and be a child of God. And the verses that we're looking at today, I want to emphasize to you the practice of righteousness. First of all, in verse 7, he begins by saying, "Little children," remember that's that title that he loves to use, that term of endearment, "let no man deceive you." Don't be deceived by the false teaching of the day that you can continue in sin and habitually love sin and be satisfied in sin and be a child of God at the same time. Do you know that there are many today who are trying to minimize the seriousness of sin? Well, they may say something like, well, it doesn't matter how you live. You do you, and whatever feels good is good. Just be the best you can be. Follow your heart. And that is the message of the world. And sadly, it's the message of many churches in America being taught by false teachers. And John writes this portion of the text so that the true child of God would not be deceived by these false teachers. And he gives us correct instruction, correct doctrine to teach us what this looks like in our lives as believers. Verse 7, he says, "Don't be deceived." And then he gives this truth: "He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous." So God's children, they will live righteous lives. You see, living righteous does not give you a right standing with God, but it reveals the right standing before God. As children of God, we are to follow the righteousness of Christ, the righteousness of God, because as he is righteous, the children of God will do righteousness, as verse 7 says. Matthew 7:16 says, "We will know people by their fruits." So how a person lives reveals what's really going on the inside. How we live, how we behave, assures us of our salvation or helps us to know that we aren't really who we say we are. We aren't really children of God. And then in verse 8, you'll notice that Satan's children live sinful lives. So God's children live righteous lives, but Satan's children live sinful lives. Notice what verse 8 says: "He that committeth sin is of the devil." And remember, as we noted yesterday, this word committeth sin is a participle, helping us to know that this is not just the occasional sin, the struggle with sin, but the ongoing satisfaction and pleasure in sin, in violating the law. That person who is satisfied and content in a life, a pattern of sin, is a child of the devil. Because look what verse 8 says: "The devil sinneth from the beginning." He is a sinner from the very beginning of time, since his original rebellion, his original fall. Jesus said in John 8, verse 44, "You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." Isn't it sad that many people who believe wrongly that they are children of God are in fact children of the devil, living lives that are patterned by sin, living lives that are affectionate towards sin? As Matthew Henry put it, this individual's life is inspired by and agreeable and pleasing to the devil. And he belongs to the party and interest and kingdom of the devil. It is he that is the author and patron of sin and has been a practitioner of it. a tempter and an instigator to it even from the beginning of the world. Satan's children live sinful lives. But I want you to notice as well in verse 8 that Christ came to destroy that work, to destroy the work of the devil, to destroy the work of sin. For this purpose, the Son of God was manifested, he says, that he might destroy the works of the devil. You see, the work of Christ's first appearance was to render ineffective the works of the devil. He came to destroy, literally to unloose. The picture of being bound by the evil and the sin should flood our minds, and Christ stepping into the scene and undoing and unloosing those chains from us. That's what Christ came to do, to loosen the cords of sin, to set us free from the power and the presence of sin, to destroy the works of the devil. And here's how all of this boils down to us. A child of God cannot be compatible with the devil's way. You see, this text lays out for us very plainly that there are only two sides. There's no middle ground. There's no third party in the running. You are either a child of the devil or you are a child of God. So true Christians, true children of God, they will exhibit a lifestyle, a pattern of righteousness, and children of the devil will exhibit a lifestyle and a pattern of sinfulness. My question for you today is, whose child are you? Is your life marked by a pursuit of righteousness? Have you put your faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ to have your sin eradicated, destroyed, and unloosed? By God's grace, as Christians, may we continue to practice righteousness, to have a life that is patterned by righteous, biblical, holy living. One preacher put it this way. He said, "Let us not serve what the Son of God came to destroy." Too many Christians today are friends with the enemy. They're flirting with the enemy. They're close to the world, and they're not putting separation between themselves and the sin that Christ came to destroy. May God help us as we seek to live lives of righteousness as Christians, to have this be our pattern, and that pattern would assure us in our standing with the Father, in our standing as children of the Father.